Today's movie shows you the choices teenagers made when they are not properly guided by their parents. The movie starts with a teenage girl doing a video recording, talking about kids from the Palisades. Their parents are rich and the kids are sent to private schools with hired cops for protection. They live very sheltered lives. It turns out the girl is being interviewed. She states none of this really matters, and the thing to remember is that they are bored teenagers. The boy leading the interview asks a guy how long he's identified with the gangsta culture, and the guy states he's not a fan of rich white people's culture. The guy who feels rich, white people's culture is whack, abruptly stops the video, when he spots someone he needs to pick a fight with. It becomes somewhat of a standoff. Two crews against each other as the guy trash talks this other guy. Someone keyed his car and he's convinced it's this other guy. A fight breaks out between both crews, and the interviewer is somewhere in the middle, trying to get it all on tape. Police siren wails and everyone takes off running, hopping into vehicles to escape. There's a night party hosted by Eric, the interviewer who still has the camera rolling. At some point, Eric is sitting with his friend Allison, the girl from his earlier interview. She asks him if he's decided what his documentary is going to be about, and he says he has. He's making a documentary about Wiggers, where Wiggers are white people who try to imitate cultural behaviors and tastes associated with black people. While Allison is out, making out with her boyfriend Toby, Eric interviews Emily, Allison's best friend. Emily states Allison's mom went through some difficulties and was in therapy at some point, but things are better now. When Allison gets home, she meets a note, asking her to come to have lunch with her dad. So she shows up at his office and says, they don't need to go out for lunch to talk. They begin talking. Allison's dad asks about her boyfriend, Toby. Allison states he's fine but she doesn't necessarily believe in relationships. Allison's dad wants to know the reason behind her disbelief, probing the probability that he and her mother have set a bad example. The conversation clearly makes Allison somewhat uncomfortable, but she's able to make a joke out of it, asking that her parents stay married and keep to their notes on the refrigerator. Afterwards, she calls Toby to pick her up. Toby is driving and Allison, Emily, and Sam are tagging along. Toby lets them know they're going to the ghetto. They're going downtown east, and they're all excited about this new adventure. They get off the main street and arrive at this corner to buy some substances from Latino dealers. Toby asks for substance and he's priced at $130. Toby negotiates down to $110. The dealer starts to walk away without giving Toby his change, and then Toby notices the substance is light for that price. Toby gets out of the car to confront the dealer, but the dealer pulls out a gun and holds it to Toby's head. Allison gets out of the car to plead for her boyfriend who is on his knees, at gunpoint, and has peed himself. The dealer eventually lets them be but warns them not to come around anymore. Toby and Allison meet up in the school where Toby expresses he's going back east to have his revenge on the dealer. Allison tries to pacify him, but Toby won't let the humiliation slide. Allison then meets up with Emily and they decide they'll have a girls' night out. While Allison, Emily, and two other girls, Amanda and Sasha, get high, they discuss and decide they'll head back east, because it was exciting the last time. They arrive at the corner, they met the dealer and he invites them to a party. At the party, the dealer's name is revealed as Hector. He tells the girls to feel at home and welcomed, then he goes off to handle a situation. Soon enough the girls really do start to feel among, flirting and drinking. Allison however thinks it's time to go, when drunk Emily starts to create tension by using slang she's not supposed to. Allison thanks Hector for the invite, and Hector in return, invites her to another party, that will be taking place at a motel. The girls eventually leave, thrilled by the night. Eric has brought his documentary shooting to Allison's place where she reveals communication with her parents are poor, and she's home alone a lot. Eric asks if those are her reasons for joining a gang. She basically says yes, the gang is her family. Eric tells her that's not an excuse and Allison switches into seduction mode. She asks Eric if he's really all about the documentary or if there's a hidden agenda behind, like his attraction to her. She starts to joke around, and insists Eric is attracted to her, and they should act on it. It somewhat upsets Eric and he expresses that Allison is one of the loneliest people he knows. He then walks out. Allison goes back to the east, this time alone, seeking Hector. At some point, she asks why he doesn't go somewhere else to make more money, and he expresses that he's at home. As night falls, Hector has become Allison's tour guide of the neighborhood. He expresses how most people assume the neighborhood is just a drug dealing spot, but it's more than that. People in the neighborhood have lives outside of drug dealing. Hector's older brother isn't a fan of Allison and Allison catches on. While Hector and Allison are together, the cops show up. A female cop asks for Allison's ID, which she provides, making the cop know she's underage and from the cushy side of the city. She's apprehended, when she refuses to snitch and is detained, until her parents bail her out. Allison's dad is furious at the turn of events and grounds her. The next day at school though, word is out about Allison's latest adventure and Toby confronts her about it. Later on, she's back to being interviewed by Eric where she reveals a relationship with Toby is cool and great, but sometimes it feels like a performance or a dream. When she gets together with Emily later on, she's more open about the experience. They joke around and try to do crack, which is an epic fail. Emily expresses she wants to go downtown yet again, and they both agree to go after school the next day. Hector is at a family-friendly party when Allison and Emily show up. He stops them at the entrance. He tells Allison the cops detained him for 2 hours while they questioned her. Allison states she didn't snitch and Hector concurs because he and his crew weren't arrested. He tells the girls the family-friendly party is a baptism party for a baby, but they'll be kicking it at the Alvarado Motel in about half an hour. Allison agrees to come. The party is in full swing. Hector and his inner circle, the girls included, start playing a game that leads to excess drinking. At some point, Allison asks if she and Emily can join Hector's crew. Hector says they can join, if they play a little dice game. They have to roll a dice and whatever number pops up, is the number of people in the crew they have to make love with. The girls agree. Allison goes first and rolls a 1. Emily rolls a 3. Emily picks Hector's older brother, Chino, to go with first and Allison picks Hector. Allison, however, isn't able to go through with it and Hector agrees to let her leave. When she beckons on Emily to leave with her, Emily refuses. Unlike Allison, Emily is ready to go all the way. During Emily with Hector, Chino joins in while Manuel watches and it gets too intense for Emily. She starts to panic and cry and Allison steps in to comfort her friend. Hector and his crew aren't feeling the girls' reaction and yell at them. Chino calls them crazy. A shaken Allison and a traumatized Emily head back home. During the class, Emily's seat is empty. Allison asks a fellow classmate where she could be, and the classmate states she heard she went home sick. When Allison gets home, she calls Emily, but Emily doesn't pick up. Allison decides to head out. Her mom is outside painting and it leads to an awkward confrontation, where the mom fails to understand why her daughter with a good life wants something different. Allison heads out to Hector's neighborhood, yet again. Hector isn't happy to see her back. He starts pushing her to leave, but she insists they talk first. She wants to know why Hector and his crew played such a game with her and Emily. Hector states, they played only to their tune and everything is a game to Allison. He goes on to say, he sees right through Allison, through her fake persona. In the middle of the confrontation, a woman in sheets steps out of the bedroom and calls out to Hector. This seems to upset Allison, even as Hector expresses he was never in love with her. Meanwhile, Emily is with her parents and a police officer to identify Hector as the guy that raped her. News spread fast and Toby confronts Allison in school about what happened to Emily. He scolds Allison for thinking it was cool to go to a hotel in the slums with another crew. She waves him off and he tells her she's out of the PLC crew. Allison is then in a crossfire. Her friend has claimed to be raped and the police are trying to investigate. They need Allison to cooperate and identify the man responsible. Allison has a lawyer who states she knows nothing about it, and Allison concurs. Allison goes over to Emily's where Emily insists it was a rape and Allison has to help testify. Hector is arrested and his brother Chino expresses they need to do something about it. Allison's parents let her know she won't need to take the stand as the story is now Emily was taken to an isolated room to be violated. This upsets Allison as she knows what really happened. Eric has to video Toby and his crew with guns, boasting about taking violence to the next step to avenge the girls. Meanwhile, Chino and Manuel are armed and driving in search of Allison and Emily's neighborhood. Eric shows Allison the footage from earlier with Toby, Sam, Nick, and the guns. Allison calls Toby and tries to talk sense into him but he doesn't listen. Hector's crew gets pulled over by the police. Allison hurries to Emily's house and tells her parents the truth about what happened with the dice game. Toby and his crew bust into a motel room, where they found 2 women and a baby. After a shouting round with guns raised, they leave frustrated. Allison and Emily are able to patch things up. The 2 crews run into each other and it seems a shot is fired when Toby notices Manuel's 16th Street tattoo. Thanks so much for watching the video till the end. It means you really love the story, so don't forget to share your love with us.